Imagine if you could easily find solutions to make your region or city smarter, greener, better connected, more social, and closer to citizens. The Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform can help you access knowledge about the latest policy trends, discover expert-validated good practices from all over Europe, find solutions in our peer review, get tailored support from our expert team. We can connect you with the right people and organizations. Together, we will find ways to solve your region's or city's challenges. Start your policy learning journey today.
Okay, welcome everybody to our Inter-Europe Policy Learning Platform webinar. Today we are tackling the topic of supporting SMEs in adapting and implementing ESG principles. My name is Mart, Veliste. I will be the moderator of today's webinar, and together with me is my colleague René Tonnisson.
Hello everybody and welcome.
Who will help me to run this event. And together with us we also have our colleague Vladimir under the name Policy Learning Platform. So if you have any technical issues, you can write to him directly, and he will be also posting different things in the chat throughout. Of course, this event is done within the collaboration of our experts we've invited to this webinar today. And we're very happy, especially to have our keynote, Sven Dietrich here, who is working as a policy coordinator in the Director General for Financial Stability, Financial Services and Capital Markets Union in the European Commission. So this is a unit that is also working on the CSRD and the SME standard topics. So this is why we've invited him here today to give us an overview, maybe a bit more from the regulatory side a bit. And then we, as we normally do in our Inter-Europe webinars, we feature good practices from our community, so things that are being implemented on the ground. And I'm really happy to have here also Adam from Autoklastr, based in Czech Republic, also representing then this AccelerateGDT project. And he will talk about ENVIScan, an initiative they have run in the Czech Republic. And then we have Javier, who is a director from the Labor Service of the government of Navarra, who will talk about another practice called InnovaRSE. And this is connected to this debuting project. You will hear more about all of our speakers in a short moment and what they will be presenting. But I will just say a few words about our platform, the Policy Learning Platform, because this might not be familiar to all of the attendees today. So we are part of Interreg Europe. This is one of these European cohesion policy and then the collaboration frameworks. And the platform is a second pillar of Interreg Europe. So whereas mostly Interreg Europe finances projects, then the platform is there to sort of help bring the knowledge to maybe a more shared level so that the information wouldn't remain in silos and we could learn more from each other. It partially functions as an online tool or an online database, so you can find different recordings of events or our policy briefs and articles there. But we are also proud to have a very diverse and extensive community, over 20,000 people, with whom we usually meet in these webinars and physical workshops and other events. And then we have also expert services that are tailored to the needs of European policymakers. And maybe just to say a few words about these expert support services, then we have 3 of them. They're on the screen here. So the policy help desk is the simplest. You can basically always write to us with questions on policy making, and we will try to help you out with this. It's like a help desk feature. But then we also have 2 tailored services called the matchmaking and the peer review. And this is where we really bring in external experts to work together with you on your policy challenge. They are free of charge for European policymakers from the local, regional, and national levels. The only difference between the matchmaking and the peer review is the extent. So the peer review is a 2-day exchange, whereas matchmaking is a 2-hour exchange. And we're really quite proud of these services. We have a good track record with them. You can see some KPIs here on the screen. We've had only over 100 peer reviews since 2018. And we continue to do these things because the feedback has been very positive so far. And to maybe give you one example on what this means then in practice, and that is also topically relevant to our session today, is last July, so almost a year ago exactly, we gathered in Budapest in Hungary to discuss how the Hungarian state basically could better support their SMEs regarding ESGs, because at that time the Hungarian businesses were getting quite a bit of requests coming both from this European directive, but also from a German change in a German law. And so let's say big clients in the value chain or in the supply chain were asking Hungarian SMEs to start reporting also about their ESG practices, and especially in the automotive cluster or the automotive sector. And therefore we met in July, and we invited to this exchange 6 experts from Estonia, Germany, and Sweden, who had already in their countries implemented some initiatives or programs to help SMEs in this sort of both adapting to this change and how to sort of meet these requirements and these questions that their clients were asking them around ESG. And so the main goal of a peer review really is to dig deeper into one topic and try to find very tailored recommendations. So all the recommendations that you can also find on our website in a more extensive manner were really tailored to the context of the Hungarian colleagues. So not just generic, but very, very concrete. And but this peer review service can be applied to any topic basically that might be of relevance for you. And there's just another example from a matchmaking, which is much shorter. But here our colleagues were tackling the topic of digital transformation in Bosnia-Herzegovina. So different topics are there. I think the main message for our listeners is just that these services are out there. If you are ever stuck with something on your work desk in terms of policy adjustments or new initiatives you want to launch, and you're looking for some new inspiration, then you can reach out to us at the Policy Learning Platform, and we can try to work together with you to find some recommendations and some solutions. We don't do this alone, not just me, Rene, and Vladimir. We have a team of wonderful colleagues, and we cover different policy areas with our team of experts. So all the cohesion policy sub-trends are eligible under our platform. Now, why we chose this topic for today's webinar around the ESGs is because we have several projects in our community that are working on associated topics. The names of these projects are also on the screen. Some of them are directly tackling sustainability reporting. As the name also says, this CSRD at SME project is working on that. We have other projects that are working maybe on more specific topics like twin transition or cluster policies, or the sustainability in the food industry, or net zero industries, smart specialization. But they all somehow often come across also the topic of how do we support actually the sustainable transition of our businesses in our regions, and then also how do we assist with their reporting requirements. And the goal of all Interreg Europe projects is usually to exchange best practices. We call them good practices. And today in this webinar, you will also hear 2 examples that have been put forward by the projects, as I also introduced already earlier. I presume everybody who's joining has sort of some sense already of understanding what we mean by ESGs, but just in case, to say again that we're talking about that this is a principle that helps prioritize environmental, social, and sort of corporate governance topics. It is used often by investors and regulators to assess whether companies, especially large companies, are acting responsibly and sustainably. But as I already hinted, this has recently also trickled down more to the SME level, that the large corporations are asking SMEs in their value chains to also report back to them and saying, how are you, what type of sustainability practices are you implementing? And And this has sometimes made it a bit confusing or complicated to manage for SMEs who are maybe not used to such reporting and such terminology. But despite it being maybe confusing, it is increasingly important to access both public and private funding, I would say. And in many cases, it can be a competitive advantage. So if an SME is able to show that how they're addressing these aspects of ESG, it's maybe easier for them to find clients or they stand out among other competitors. I would also add here that there's more and more talk about maybe running businesses with a different set of values than we were used to, some decades ago. So you hear more about this people, planet, profit, or triple bottom line approach to companies, where it's not just about profit generation, but also about thinking about the social and environmental impact a business activity has. So I would say ESG is not only about reporting and regulations, it is also about that we are in a phase where business models and business strategies are in general changing to these directions as well. And for public authorities, of course, the opportunity lies in being able to also understand what are these different changes that are happening and how to then support the local businesses in your regions to go with these trends or how to meet these requirements that are there. On the European level then, of course, ESGs have been important for some time. They are very central to the European Green Deal as well, or they're aligned with the ambitions of the European Green Deal. And in 2023, then this new directive was launched called the Corporate Social Responsibility Directive, which made new rules for reporting. And then, of course, companies of a certain size had to sort of disclosing information about the risks and opportunities that they see are stemming from the social and environmental side of their business activity. But this tended to also start impacting SMEs, and therefore it sort of became this competitiveness factor for SMEs in the EU as well, that those who were maybe more equipped or were better able to answer to these corporates about their ESG principles, those were perhaps seen as the more attractive business partner. So this has been somehow in the background there for since 2023. But then in February this year, a simplification has been suggested by the European Commission, a package of proposals to maybe reduce the burden on this reporting for SMEs and to overall boost competitiveness. And this is where I'm very happy to then give the word actually to our keynote speaker, Sven Dietrich, because I think you know much more about this than I do. So please, I will stop sharing my screen and I welcome you to the stage to introduce your perspective on where we are currently standing with this CSRD.
Thank you, Mart. Yes, thanks also for inviting me to this event. Appreciate to participate. But first of all, I should put a little disclaimer. So I've got a bad cold, so please expect some strange voice, passive reactions, being a bit slow in my presentation, in my answers later on in the Q&A and then panel discussion. But I hope it will go. So I'm going to give you a rather brief introduction, and then I think it's easy, and then I will be happy to take your questions, both Mart's questions and then questions from all of you from the audience. Let me start by recalling the underlying objectives of the CSRD. So Mart has already mentioned the CSRD, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. The European Union aims to ensure that companies report the comparable and reliable information that investors and other stakeholders need. It should provide investors with the information, so the CSRD should provide investors with information they need about sustainability-related risks to their investments, therefore contributes to financial stability in the context of the transition to a sustainable economy. It should also provide investors with the information they need to understand the impacts of their investments on people and the environment. And beyond the needs of financial markets, the CSRD has also been designed to create more accountability and transparency towards all stakeholders regarding companies' sustainability performance. And from a company perspective, common standards, common reporting standards ought to reduce the need to apply and respond to multiple different overlapping questionnaires and voluntary frameworks. For everybody, standardization in reporting should ultimately lead to simplification. The CSRD sits at the heart of the information system that will power the sustainable finance agenda of the EU. It is Mart already referred to it. It is a foundational element of the European Green Deal. The Green Agenda is and needs to be a foundational element of the European Commission's new growth and competitiveness agenda. Turning now to SMEs and their involvement more specifically, and to the voluntary SME standards as a tailor-made reporting tool for SMEs. Relating to the background, although you may know it, the vast majority of SMEs are not subject to mandatory reporting requirements. They may still receive requests for information from banks and large companies as part of the so-called trickle-down effect. The European Commission, therefore mandated EFRAG. EFRAG is a Brussels-based organization which works as a technical advisor for the European Commission in terms of preparing reporting standards. So we mandated EFRAG with the development of a simple, proportionate, and harmonized tool for SMEs to provide ESG information and to tackle with the increasing requests for sustainability information. And this is the so-called VSME, the Voluntary SME Reporting Standard. The fact that companies ask suppliers for sustainability information is to some extent an inevitable characteristic of the sustainable economy, and therefore would happen even in the absence of the CSRD. And I think we cannot and should not aim to completely protect SMEs from the expectation that they share and need to share certain sustainability information, since to do so, protecting them completely would have the unwanted effect of excluding them from the business opportunities of the transition, including finding access to green finance. Now, what does the VSME standard deliver? Our strategy is therefore to limit the trickle-down effect where possible, and secondly, where the trickle-down effect cannot be stopped completely, to help SMEs cope with requests for sustainability information when the SMEs are nevertheless exposed to such requests. The VSME standard shall replace the current use of multiple uncoordinated questionnaires from banks, so mainly from the financial sector, but also from large companies when they pass on their needs or pass on questionnaires to fulfill their own requirements to provide sustainability information. So the VSME shall replace those increasing number of questionnaires, different request formats, and we seek a broad market acceptance for the VSME standard. As to the structure or legal formats, the VSME will first be endorsed as a Commission recommendation. It has been drafted with a view to the current CSRD, which does not consider the voluntary reporting of SMEs. It will only address the non-listed SMEs, but also it will recommend to large undertakings and banks, etc., to make use of it, to make use of the VSME standards in the sense that they, banks and large companies, they limit their requests to SMEs for sustainability information to the content that is covered by the VSME standard. And the recent Omnibus proposals, Mart already referred to it. The Omnibus proposals, including proposal to significantly amend the CSRD, bring along further important improvements in terms of simplification, including for SMEs, and the function of the VSME standard as the so-called value chain cap. So once adopted as a delegated act, that's the, we'll come to it in a minute, but that's the legal frame foreseen in the Omnibus proposal. So once adopted as a delegated act, there will be one single voluntary reporting standard for SMEs and for those large companies that will be taken out of the scope of the CSRD. And with regard to SMEs, it means that even the small number of listed SMEs that currently are obliged to report sustainability information, they will presumably fall out of the scope after an agreement on the Omnibus package, and may then also make use of the VSME standard. So the most significant amendment concerns the value chain cap. The current value chain cap says that the ESRS, so the reporting standard developed and applicable for large companies, they cannot require companies to get information from SMEs in their value chain that exceeds the information to report it under a proportionate standard for listed SMEs. So there is a separate standard for listed SMEs already finalized, developed, prepared by EFRAG, but it's put on hold. It's frozen due to the Omnibus proposal. And the planned VSME value chain cap proposal directly prohibits the reporting company, the large company, from asking certain companies for information about a reference level, and this reference level will, so always assuming that the Omnibus proposal will be adopted, this reference level will then be set by the voluntary standard, by the VSME, which is far less complex than the LSME standard would be. It will protect all companies in the value chain with less than 1,000 employees, which means SMEs, but also a large chunk of large companies, which currently are still obliged to report under the CSRD, under the current CSRD. The amended CSRD will include provision to say that the auditor or assurance service provider must respect this value chain cap set by the VSME standards. Moreover, it will have provision to say that the reporting company is deemed to comply with the reporting requirements, so with its own reporting requirements, when it respects the value chain cap. The scope of reporting companies under the CSRD will be considerably reduced. The proposal will exclude all companies with up to 1,000 employees, reducing the CSRD scope by about 80%, meaning also that all these companies will no longer have to request information from SMEs in their value chain. So the sheer number of requests addressed to SMEs will go down. The Commission will also revise the Delegated Acts establishing the the ESRS, so the reporting standards for large companies, and this revised set of ESRS will also have to respect the value chain cap as set by the VSME standards. So therefore, the voluntary standard and its function as value chain cap might be the most important improvement for SMEs from the Commission's Omnibus proposals, always provided they will be agreed upon. It will be a simple tool helping smaller companies to provide sustainability information to very large companies that will remain in the scope of CSRD and may demand such information. And the VSME will act as a shield for those smaller companies. Companies in the scope of the CSRD will not be able anymore to request from companies in the value chain information that goes beyond the information set in the voluntary standard. So this cap, once introduced as a delegated act, will be legally binding. It will then also replace the Commission recommendation on the VSME that will be adopted as an intermediate step. Also, it is important to mention that the value chain cap as such refers to disclosures on sustainability, on ESG information. So it does not automatically refer to, for example, prudential information that banks may request for their own internal risk management purposes. And this information is referred to as prudential information as opposed to sustainability information. However, the information may, to a large extent, be overlapping, so that there may not be a need to ask for any additional information in most cases. Also important to say here that the cap cannot be considered as legally binding in this context. Legally, banks may go beyond and ask for any additional information not being reported by the VSME, but the Commission and also EFRAG have already reached out to the financial sector stakeholders to get their acceptance for the VSME and their support, so that the cases where the information is not considered as overlapping and banks may feel obliged to ask for additional information, these cases may hopefully be limited. Maybe a last point on this. We should not forget the other objective of the VSME standard. The voluntary SME standard should also help. So next to reporting to business partners, be it banks, financial business partners, or large companies, beyond that purpose, the VSME should also help SMEs. And I think Mart also referred to this aspect, help them both to monitor their own sustainability performance as a sort of management tool, and to access new green finance opportunities by giving them a means to communicate credibly to potential investors. Indeed, without such standards, there is a risk that non-listed SMEs may be excluded from access to green finance.
Sven, maybe we can stop here for questions.
Well, maybe I'm just 1 more minute as to the timeline, but then very brief.
Yes.
So I touched upon it, but a bit more clearly. So when will the VSME apply or enter into force? So the VSME standard will be implemented by us in a two-phase approach. So I should mention maybe at the beginning that the VSME is already there. It's available on EFRAG's website and can already be taken and then used. But as you may know, stakeholders, also SMEs, expect some formal stamp or blessing from the Commission as a signal of its legitimacy, if you wish so. So that is why the Commission has decided to endorse the VSME standard via Commission recommendation. And phase 1 concerns this VSME recommendation. It is, so we're in the process of preparing it. It's going to be adopted and published, hopefully in the course of the next weeks. The date currently envisaged is in July. And this recommendation will include the VSME as finalized by EFRAG and submitted to us by EFRAG end of 24 without any major changes. So we'll only have a few factual corrections to the standard that you can see on EFRAG's website. And the recommendation at the VSME will be published at the same time in all EU official languages. That's also one reason why we need a few weeks more time for the translation. And you may know as to translation that there are already a few translations available for some member state languages produced by national organizations, associations, etc. Then phase 2, last point, phase 2 is directly regulated by the Omnibus proposal for amendment of the CSRD. The Omnibus proposal mandates, so again, if agreed by co-legislators, mandates the Commission to adopt a delegated act based, it says in the proposal, based on the EFRAG VSME standard for the voluntary reporting of companies then not in scope of CSRD. But this can be done only after a final agreement on the Omnibus proposal would have been achieved, since we require this formal mandate put into the amended CSRD. And so negotiations are ongoing about the Omnibus proposals, the amendment of the CSRD, the presumable timeline goes until the end of this year. So the aim is to adopt the delegated act as soon as possible following the CSRD, the new CSRD adoption, which will presumably be in, well, Q2 of 2026. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sven, for walking us through this regulatory framework. I already put to the chat also this link to EFRAG and the SME standards so that audiences can also check that out. And you were nicely already explaining that in July we expect to maybe hear more about that. But maybe just to understand a bit better, the Omnibus package currently is a recommendation from the Commission, and so this needs to be validated by the Parliament, or how is what are the steps in that sense?
It's a legislative proposal by the Commission to. So we speak of the first Omnibus package. There will be more. I think even another one was published yesterday or even today. But this Omnibus 1 suggests amendments to 4 pieces of legislation, and one of them is the CSRD. So this proposal was adopted and then sent to co-legislators, so Parliament and Member States, the Council, end of February this year, and Member States and the Council and Parliament have started discussing it in preparation to build a common stance. Each of the co-legislators on the proposal, the Member State Council negotiations are run currently by the Polish presidency, and that they push very much on making progress. But they're still negotiating, and I don't even know whether they succeed in finding a common stance, common position on the Commission proposal by the end of their presidency, which will be end of June, end of next month. And the same is true for the Parliament, which has started a bit later with the negotiations, the internal deliberations, and at some point in time, which will be sometime in autumn, I think they will put their 2 positions together in order to come up to agree on a joint position.
Okay. So I guess before we take the audience questions, this seems to be still in the process or in limbo.
Yeah, very much.
So I guess if either if you're a SME owner or then you're a local, where you work in a local business development center and you work closely with SMEs to help them and the system in these type of things, then currently it seems that the best thing to do is maybe to look into what EFRAG has done with VSME, that this helps you prepare the most for potential changes. Would you agree to that, or?
Well, maybe one point, one step back.
Mm-hmm.
So SMEs are legally, so currently most SMEs are legally not obliged to report any ESG, any sustainability information. But it's a relatively small number. The listed SMEs, they fall in the current scope of a CSRD. So presuming Omnibus will be agreed upon, then they will fall out. The same is true for some mid caps or the smaller large companies. But the vast, as I said, the vast majority of non-listed SMEs is not in the current scope and will certainly not be in the future scope of CSRD. But still, so that's why we are meeting today. Still, they either want to provide information very voluntarily, or there's market pressure. So they keep on receiving these requests for information from their banks whenever they want to take out a loan, or they are included in some structures, value chain constructions with larger businesses, and in order not to risk losing that business partner, they have to provide some information. And for all these purposes, the Commission had mandated EFRAG to develop a simple standard for those SMEs purposes, and this idea and this need will stay rather the same. The only difference, I would say, from the Omnibus to this topic, or for SMEs, will be there will be a relief insofar as currently the VSME, so we're going to adopt it as a recommendation, but it's not legally binding. So banks, SMEs, banks and large companies may go beyond it. We ask for market acceptance, but still, and there were lots of consultations, field tests run by EFRAG to calibrate the VSME and to see what piece of information we should put into the standard so that it will fit the purpose of requesting those standard requests for information. But you cannot rule out or exclude that there may be additional requests. But in the future, so once the Omnibus proposal will lead to a respective change of the CSRD, it will be, as I said, it will be legally binding. So there will be a prohibition. Companies must not ask for any information beyond the VSME. So in that case, SMEs could really rely, if I provide all information included in the VSME, it's fine. I'm done.
Okay, I think that's the sort of the key message in a way from there. Thank you for the answer. I give word to René. Do we have anything from the audience or from your side to say?
I don't see any questions from the audience, but I have a question which is more of a strategic kind of related to the big picture, and we all know that the CSRD very much stems from the objectives of the European Green Deal. But my question is that as we are living in a very turbulent times where every week or every month the situation in the world is changing, and this is of course also influencing the kind of thinking of member states and and EU institution in Europe. And just 2 days ago, I was reading the news where the German Chancellor and the French President advocated for revisiting and perhaps also rethinking the European Green Deal objectives and some of them. And if this takes place, for instance, then my question is that have you had any discussion what will happen with all the debates and kind of ongoing processes if the big picture changes radically, and how do you see the big picture influencing those operational details and processes you are currently describing and preparing?
Yes, thanks, René. Well, that's the very reason for the Commission to develop and present and submit these omnibus proposals. So the new Commission, the current Commission, is very much focused on companies and general our economies' competitiveness. We still claim that we stick to the policy objectives of the European Green Deal from the previous Commission, but with the same Commission President, and also some commissioners are still in office. So to be honest, it came very much as a surprise to us and my team as well that the Commission decided to make these rather radical proposals for rather radical changes, amendments to the CSRD, also the CSDDD, the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, and it has been motivated by the aspects that you've mentioned. So there was also mention this. There was also a lot of complaints and a lot of really very high-level pressure on the Commission from business stakeholders, also from member states, associations, claiming or complaining that the CSRD rules, because now they have first practical experience gained with the application of the rules. They are considered as, or were considered as, too complicated, too burdensome, and this experience and complaint together with the changed global landscape motivated the Commission to come up with these proposals. But it's quite important to highlight again, it's not the end of the story. So we don't know yet what the final outcome from the negotiations between Parliament, member states, and the Council and the Commission will be. But I can tell you that there's already a lot of resistance, particularly from the Parliament, regarding reducing the scope of companies in CSRD so drastically, because the proposal would lead to taking about 80% of companies out, which is a lot. So this, I don't know what the outcome will be, but this may change. But also the value chain cap, we talked about it, is a hot topic in the debates and discussions already. So that's why it is a bit premature to speculate about the outcome. So what we're talking about now is only, in brackets, only the Commission proposal, and I've no better knowledge than you have as a newspaper reader, but I think from experience you can say that not every Commission proposal comes out of the machine as it was put into it. So we'll see.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sven,
Sven.
for explaining it. And I think that's also an important message, that it's a process and we don't know for sure, because sometimes, when you only read headlines or you see that there was a commission is simplifying something, you might already think that it's in force. So I think it's very important to also discuss where we are currently and what is the thinking. But I think now is a good time to also welcome our second speaker to go into the very concrete level into the Czech Republic and to hear how already before all these changes were planned and happening, how then Autoklastr and Adam, you were working in supporting the SMEs in your region with the ENVIScan.
Yes. So I will share my screen.
Yep, please go ahead.
Okay. So can you see the screen?
Yeah,
Can you see the full screen?
It's full screen. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mart, for inviting me to share with you some, let's say, practical experience how we are supporting SMEs in adopting and implementing ESG. I was asking by the AccelerateGDT project to present this maybe 1 year ago. And this, let's say, best practice was, I think, shared also on your policy platform. That's maybe why I was inviting here. AccelerateGDT is actually one of the projects which is for cluster policy. And it's led by the Münster Technological University by a very experienced guy, John Hobbs. Maybe he's also here today. And I will show you today some example what we are doing in our region and how we are supporting with our innovation center SMEs in their ESG adoption. So my name is Adam Priechodsky. I work as a project manager in Autoklastr. We are based in Ostrava, which is the eastern part of Czech Republic. You can see it on the map where it is. It's near to Poland and Slovakia border. Around us are maybe, I would say, 15 OEMs in Poland, in Czech Republic, and Slovakia, also Hungary. So it means that around us, it's a lot of suppliers to the automotive industry. That's why we are here. Currently, we have almost 100 members. I would say 60% of them are manufacturing companies, and maybe more than half are SMEs. So that's our target for this ESG adoption, because the big companies, I think they are quite good in it. And I will show you today, as already Mart said, the ENVIScan, which is, let's say, service for the SMEs from our region, not only for our members, but for SMEs which have to or which will have to do the ESG reporting in the future. Maybe there will be some difference, what we already heard from Sven, but as you'll see, it's kind of for some companies it's burden, and for some companies it's the opportunity to, let's say, make the strategical decisions and some change projects. So maybe for the beginning, this is the nice picture how the mobility trends looks like. And you can see there are the 7 topics, and I would say more than half also covering ESG, because you can see it's a green transformation, it's about energy, it's about technology, it's about value chain, and as well it's about the businesses and economic in the companies. So you can share it. It was made by Seaga, Sonia Pinheiro in Vigo, very good cluster. This is we are called ENVITEC, which is like the umbrella of services and events and working groups, which are, let's say, leading and providing to companies. ENVI means environmental and tech means technologies. Our logos is on the site where we are really involved. So as a cluster, we can help with the workshop event, roundtables, matchmaking, whatever is prepared for SMEs. This is the part of awareness. Then we have together with our innovation center working groups. One which cover everything is ENVITech working groups, but then you can see we have separate working groups for ESG, as well for energy, waste, and water. As we are Autoklastr, we are, let's say, more involved in ESG and energy. And then on the right side, you can see the services, which, let's say, are from those activities. And today I will show you ENVIScan, which is very easy. I would not say audit, it's just scan. We are trying to avoid the name of service audit. It's called scan for us. You can see that it's 100% funded for SMEs from our region. It's basically a report about the carbon footprint, about some recommendation for change project. Change project, it's the ENVIScan number 2. We will go today just for ENVIScan 1. You can see that the cost of this is €600 plus VAT, and it's for 10 hours of working of the experts, not that this will be done in 10 hours. I will show you in the next slide that this ENVIScan 1 could take up to 2 months. And if the company, for example, use some change project from the report, apply for the ENVIScan 2, make some bigger project, then at the end, we and our innovation center could provide support or expert, but this is not funded. This is just only on a commercial way. Here is the, let's say, implementation stage for the ENVIScan 1. You can see there's some introduction. Basically, this on the awareness side. Then the client will have to write some application, very easy one. The money goes from de minimis. The client is approved. Then there is ENVIScan itself. It's about the data collection, about the company tour. That's already with the expert, provided expert. Then the experts making the data processing, and they are preparing the final report with the possible change project for the ENVIScan 2. You can see this could take 3 weeks or more. And then there is a presentation to the client and evaluation. So you can see it's for 2 months, and it's completely funded by the innovation center. The company will receive a report. You can see it's like almost 30 pages. This one was based on Renometer. I think it was the carbon footprint was from scope 1 and scope 2. There was no indirect carbon footprint. And there was identified some possible change project. I'll show you. The results are in four main chapters: water, waste, energy, and ESG. And the company can take the recommendation to apply to the ENVIScan 2, which is funded by the 75%. It was on the later previous slides. And that's the very, I would say, almost stupid example, but very easy to understand. For the company, it was waste, and there was some indication that it could be used for another product. You can see from the anti-slip mats, or which could be used for anti-slipping, or separate some other products from itself, or to not move. So that was actually good example. It was really implemented by the company. Some key insights, I would say from my side, it's good that in the region are some partnership. As we are cluster, we have a good innovation center, and we are doing together events for SMEs. That's the key point. You need to have services. Scalable services, and you need to have people for that, the experts. I have not written here, and some, I would say, accessible funding mechanism. You saw the first, let's say, introductory scan was for free. 100% funded, but then it was only 75, and the last stage, like the big projects, are on a commercial way. Yeah, specific expertise on each topic. Not we are focusing on automotive industry, but there are other sectors as well. Oh, I think I was done in also in 10 minutes. And if you have questions, I'm here.
No, you were even quicker. Thank you, Adam. Maybe to clarify, did I hear correctly that part of the ENVIScan is also company tour?
Yes, yeah. The experts are actually, they have to go to the company. That's the mandatory.
Okay.
I know it's not easy because when for the company it's not required by the law or by something. You usually not invite the people from outside to your company to make some, I would say, audit. But that's why we are not calling audit. We are calling scan or analysis.
And maybe my second question before then I give the word to René and the audience. Did you, Adam, did you have to like promote this service among the members to make use of it, or was it very organic that they were really looking for such support? And
no, they were not looking at all.
Okay.
That's something which we have to promote a lot. We are doing seminars, webinars, and what really works is to present some real example from the previous one. That really works.
And if I understood correctly, then yeah, the process of doing this report and checking the factory led to this one company really actually doing a new innovative product in a way with their waste materials.
Could be whatever. It could be some solution in water, in energy. This one was from the waste. For them it was waste. Somebody was looking outside on this waste, and they say, hey, come on, you can make another product from that. And it was, I would say, understandable example, but I will not show you like graphs or whatever in energy consumption, whatever. That was kind of easy to demonstrate.
Okay, but then I give word to my colleague René. There are some questions in the chat, perhaps.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. And I don't see. Let me see if there are any questions. Yes, we do have a couple of questions from audience, and I'm just reading them. What about calling and revising ESG reports in order to prevent greenwashing?
I'm sorry, the question was about there was some I didn't hear well.
Just let me read it again. What about controlling and revising ESG reports in order to prevent greenwashing? That's a question.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, greenwashing, it's something which is, I would say, on the media side, but not on the level of companies which are really wanted to do something. I mean, the main responsibility lies on the SME themselves, if they want or if they don't want. And we as a cluster and as an innovation center, our role is to provide, let's say, reliable services. If this is the answer, I don't know, but we are not really involved in follow-up processes because we are not experts on the ESG reporting. We are just providing experts to the companies.
So there's another question. How many ENVIScans has been done so far?
So far, last year it was around 10. It's not a big number, but it's something. Because really, the companies are not asking, hey, can we do the ENVIScan? We really have to, not to push, but we have to really promote some really benefits and lessons learned from previous scans and how, let's say, beneficial it was for the company.
But then maybe the follow-up would be that for your cluster and then this innovation center, and I guess you clearly see the need to sort of for such a service, right? So is it in your view, is it about competitiveness or something else that like, why should the cluster members care then about ENVIScan? Very, very provocative question, but
yeah, it's really provocative. Okay, the truth is that really the companies itself, if they don't need to do it, they will not do it. But you have to promote well that it was helpful for some company.
Okay, and
we had some seminar from with the experts, which was really carrying out the really ESG reporting, not just the scans or whatever, really ESG reporting, the complex one, and it really depends on the data, on the maturity of the SME, how they are collecting the data. If they are, for example, ISO standardized, if they have ISO, ITS, IATF audits and standards, if they have really good processes, if they have data available, structured data, then it's easy. But when you have the company which, let's say, struggling on those sides, it's kind of difficult.
Okay, well, thank you, Adam, for presenting the ENVIScan. We will see you again in the end, but I would then invite our last speaker, Javier, from Navarra, to also share about the InnovaRSE program or service. I don't know how to name it. So Javier, please, the floor is yours to share the screen. And
thank you, Mart. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yeah, we see it in this sort of presenter mode still. So maybe you can make it full screen.
Over here.
Yeah, now it's perfect.
Okay, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. As Mart has said, I work for the government of Navarra, for the Department of Social Rights, Social Economy and Employment. And first, I would like to thank the Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform for the invitation to participate in this webinar. First, some details of Navarra. It's a historical region in the northern Spain with a privileged strategy location on the border with France, very close to Bilbao, and it has around 660,000 inhabitants, and is one of the regions with the highest standard of living in Spain. We have also one of the highest industrialization rates in the country, 32%, whereas Spain's average is about 18%. In fact, most of the industrial companies belong to the two most important subsectors in Navarra's industry, automotive and machinery and equipment. These two, with agri-food industry, represent more than half of Navarra's industrial economy. Yes. As part of public administration, my department manages and promotes labor relations and risk prevention policies, as well as gender equality and social responsibility practices for companies. We provide services and support the companies to foster their sustainability. Our mission is focused in increasing the integration of sustainability into business models and management of companies. Actually, our general direction takes part of the VIEW team, which is a gender equality project for the competitiveness of companies. InnovaRSE is our main instrument, our main tool to carry out this function, and that's why InnovaRSE is a good practice included in the Interreg Europe portal. We understand that InnovaRSE is a whole system. Our managed system provides a comprehensive framework for integrating social responsibility into business strategies, turning sustainability into a competitive advantage for companies, especially for SMEs. InnovaRSE is a complete system or strategy composed by several items. A methodology ready to be implemented in companies to work on the three dimensions: environmental, social, and governance. And ESG policies related to sustainability programs. We have a list of consultants trained in our methodology who help companies to carry out good practices, not only to comply legislation, but to achieve high quality results. These consultants provide technical support to companies throughout the process. We have also grants for companies which are implementing the methodology. It provides financial support for the implementation in different stages, a battery of recognized seals which led these companies to obtain more subsidies or gain public contracts, and an annual businesses awards day or institutional event where the government of Navarra gives certificates to those firms to have that have implemented the methodology. The government of Navarra started with this system in 1928 when ESG principles didn't exist, to facilitate companies to the awareness in terms of sustainability, to make them more competitive and improve the quality of employment. As I've said, we started in 1928, so this means more than 15 years of implementation, more than 500 companies participating, mostly SMEs, 135 sustainability reports, and about 80 accredited consultants. And how do we do it? Our methodology is not the only thing we have. We have also grants, as I said, seals and recognition day. But however, a key part of the system are our experts or consultants. Our network of consultants support companies in their transition to sustainability. We have more than 80 consultants specialized in and certified in our methodology. Every year, we organize a training session to update knowledge and prepare new consultants. Their main function is to guide companies into the itinerary, at least until the first strategic cycle is complete. These professionals have to be accredited by the government of Navarra. To be one of them, we require at least 3 years of experience in consulting or advising companies in management, planning, or evaluation tasks. Once the consultant attends the training and passes the test, he or she gets the accreditation. And the updated list of accredited consultants is available for companies on our website. About the methodology, we have to say that it's based on a PDCA cycle, plan, do, check, and act. And the first stage is planning. It consists of making a diagnosis of his situation in relation to 3 dimensions of sustainability: environmental, social, and economic, or governance, and design an action plan in the relevant areas of improvement. Meanwhile, in the action plan, the consultant defines the company's our priorities and objectives in the short and medium term. Proposes the actions and activities to be undertaken to achieve these objectives, and organize the company's resources to achieve the main objectives. The second stage is implementation. This is the development stage of the first action plan. The third stage is the improvement cycle, the application of principles and different aspects included in the decalogues. And after the third stage comes the transversal stage, sustainability reporting, in order to inform stakeholders of the progress made. However, after the implementation, it will be necessary to evaluate the results obtained and assess the changes experienced in the three dimensions, which means starting the strategic cycle again. This new analysis will serve to identify new areas for improvement and structure a set of measures to achieve new objectives, and so on. To make it easier for consultants, the methodology includes a set of technical support documents, guides for elaboration of improvement cycles, and sustainability reports, and a toolbox. InnovaRSE system has developed an accreditation model based on a label of different colors. Companies incorporate them as they develop the different stages of the methodology. The InnovaRSE seals can be used by companies on all the communication elements and materials they wish, including any physical or digital support. We have, as you can see on the slide, grants, two grants. One of them is to subsidy for the promotion of the social responsibility. We subsidize the hiring of a consultant to implement the methodology in the companies with a number of hours and a fixed cost according to the stage being developed. And the other subsidy is to companies for the implementation of gender equality and work-life balance projects. And this is important to remark that we have adapted our methodology, our InnovaRSE, to the specialties of sectors and the size of companies. For example, we have TAMIRSE, our methodology for micro and SMEs or self-employment, and GovernARSE for the public sector, for the public administration or whatever. And finally, once a year, a day of recognition is held for companies that have implemented InnovaRSE, where they are given a certificate. To sum up, I'd like to give you some recommendation if you are interested in implementing such a program. From our experience as a regional government, it is essential to know the role to play. Public administrations have to design policies that encourage companies to move towards sustainability with not only economic resources, but also offering simple methodologies and expert or technical advice. Besides, it's useful to highlight the benefits that sustainability can offer companies in terms of competitiveness. It is necessary to offer them a clear improvement. Otherwise, it's very difficult to convince managers that they have to do something different. This is why, as I show in the slide, the focus should be on the changes they can bring about, both internally and externally with different stakeholders. Moreover, it is crucial to have the support of the general management. It cannot be left to the human resources or marketing department, for example. It must be the CEO who leads the change in the company. And that's all. If you have any questions, please ask me.
Yeah, thank you, Javier. And really nice to hear how you've been implementing this the support. I'm maybe curious because because you mentioned that you started already quite some time ago, even before maybe we were talking so much about ESGs and not CSRD, and so some regions are maybe
I can
reacting
see
a bit.
you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So the question is about, because you started some time ago already, before there was this maybe, let's say, call it pressure or signals that we should care more about ESG and we need to help companies with this reporting. So what was the rationale for you as a public authority? Why did you start with this service to begin with?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, the reason, I think, we knew that we had to support companies, mainly SMEs, to the transition to the sustainability, and the best way to do it was design a methodology, a simple methodology, and provide them some experts to accompany the transition. I think that was the main reason to design this policy, public policy. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. René, maybe from your side, do we have any questions?
Yes,
from the chat?
I don't see any questions from the chat. So if anybody wants to ask anything, please write it. But I have a question on my own. I mean, it looks that you have developed a very good initiative to kind of help SMEs to deal with those issues. And I was wondering how unique is it in Spain, and is it specifically only implemented in Navarra, or is similar schemes available in other Spanish regions, and have other regions or cities asked for your help and assistance in developing similar schemes?
Yes, good question. In 28, when we started with the InnovaRSE project, we were the only one in Navarra. We were the first one to implement these projects, to work with SMEs in the sustainability principles. In those years after we started, we know that other regions in Spain are implementing projects, similar projects, similar programs to support their SMEs. But we were the first, and we are aware that we have been asked for the methodology, for our experience from other regions, but at the moment we implement this program only here in Navarra, in this region.
Because I was also interesting to hear when you were presenting that you had also this one service also towards the government, and then for the micro enterprises, and this really somehow struck me a bit, because we earlier, when we were listening to Sven and about the simplifications, and then we're talking about completely different scale of enterprises. This how big is your value chain and how many employees you have, 1,000 or so. But even in your region, you're even working with the very small businesses, the really micro businesses regarding sustainability, and that's really, really interesting to find.
Yes. Our economy is made mainly in a 95% with micro SMEs and self-employment. So we had to prepare something specific for them, more simpler and adapted to their situation. And the same is with public sector. The Parliament of Navarra I don't know, but 15 years ago, wished to implement InnovaRSE, and we realized that the public sector has another situation different from a company. So the InnovaRSE is now adapted to these situations.
So I think looking also at the time, how we have like a bit 9 minutes or so left, I would maybe invite also Adam and Sven back to the screen for a final discussion. So we've been here now hearing today about the signals in the regulatory space and the discussions that the Commission has been having. We've also had 2 examples from Czech Republic and from Spain about how SMEs have been supported on these topics. So maybe one question, and perhaps this is easier to answer for Javier and Adam, but like, what would you say is the key barrier for SMEs when they're taking on this sort of sustainability journey or this ESG reporting? Yeah, Adam, I see you unmuted.
Yeah,
so.
if I can. I think for the SMEs, the ESG adoption or framework, it's about the complexity. I mean, it's too complex, and those complexity goes, or it's translated to costs. And SMEs usually don't have, I would say, dedicated person just for those type of reporting. They have to hire external persons or consultancy, and this is really costly. And I would say for SMEs, especially for SMEs and small SMEs, it's really I mean, the lack of, let's say, standardization, or maybe some useful tools, or maybe templates or best practices or processes, which could help them to be prepared even before they will ask some consultancy to help with the ESG reporting. That's I would say the key barrier for SME.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
No, René, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I wanted to, there is this always discussion whether glass is half empty or half full, and in discussing those ESG perspectives, the question is that it's normally looked at the kind of side of how problematic it is, but the question is if there is a possibility to turn the discourse into their opportunities. So what would be the opportunity instead of seeing the problems? And I wonder how easy it is to change the mindset of the companies, and also have the discussion rather in a positive context than in negative one, by your experience.
Maybe I will just answer. I have heard from one expert that the companies are sitting on a box which is full of opportunities, or this box could explode.
But
I mean, if you are starting to collect data and you are starting to improve your processes and you are starting to really fill out the ESG report, for you it could be beneficial. You could really learn from it. You could put the ESG report to your strategy as a strategic approach. Or it could really kill you, because you will find out that your company is not managed well, and that's the part of explode. Or if your company is managed well and you have the, let's say, good processes and good data, the ESG report really could just help you.
Maybe Javier, from your side, what is the main barrier you have seen? And then we got also going to René's question about this positive direction. And I think you are doing this positive a bit with the conference or the event you're doing annually as well. So
in my case, is the same as more or less. The main barrier is the lack of technical or economic resources. But it's an opportunity. It's clear for us it's an opportunity because there is no other way to advance. We are aware that sometimes it can be a burden, but that's why our system is flexible, because it allows in periods of downtime, the implementation can be stopped and resume in next years when the company overcomes its problems. And the consultants supports the company at all the stages. So they make it easier for them.
I think also just it was nice to see that the signal that Adam, you were giving, that maybe companies are looking for more standardization or templates or simplification. It did sound like what Sven was presenting. This is really much what is being attempted at the moment with this SME standard, right?
Exactly. If I may, so I would agree with what Adam and also Javier have been stating and saying, but that's exactly so tackling this barrier of complexity and also related costs is exactly what the voluntary SME standard as developed by EFRAG with our mandate, our commission mandate, is meant to do, to provide. So a simple tool, hopefully achieving this objective of replacing all the existing and ever-increasing overlapping questionnaires and reporting formats. And well, please let me add that first, there already are, but there will be more digital tools, online tools to simply prepare and submit your ESG report based on the VSME standard. EFRAG is currently busy with, so the technical advisor for the commission I referred to before. EFRAG is currently busy with setting up a whole VSME ecosystem to provide, so first to also develop an online template for VSME reporting purposes, but also next to it develop and then provide all sorts of guidance, because it's true, the VSME is a rather simple tool, but if you look at it, so I'm a trained lawyer, and I would have problems to fill it out. If I ran a company, I would have problems to fill it out on my own. So you certainly, or at least some micro undertakings, also medium-sized SMEs, they may need consultancy support or any other support, even though there will be guidance and support documents to reduce the costs. But just to mention, you the SMEs are not alone, and it was mentioned before, it's a journey, it's a transition to participate in this transition to a sustainable economy, and we're just in the beginning. Now we face a bit of a pushback with these omnibus or the opposition to some extent to the European Green Deal and the changing landscape, but still I think nobody will deny that, well, we need to do something. We need to do much more to save the planet, and European Green Deal could be a small element to it. But the Commission is aware of that SMEs, in particular the micro undertakings, the 1, 2, 3 person micro undertakings, they haven't got the resources and the financial capacity to pay expensive consultants. So there already is, and there will be more guidance and tools to support this voluntary reporting. So if you simply go on EFRAG's website, you will easily find a lot of information that is available already.
Then maybe just to summarize, what I hear is also that even though there will be simplification and guidelines, it might still be that locally it's still good to have services like ENVIScan or InnovaRSE that help locally businesses in their local language to manage this whatever we call it, bureaucracy, or how do you want. So that's one side, I think, from there. And then secondly, I think what I heard both from Javier and Adam, you need the success stories, or you need the case studies, or you need the examples of companies that have gone or taken on this sustainability journey, have found a new competitive edge in this, and this is how you really explain. And this is still relevant, I guess, because as Sven was also saying, even if this CSRD process is changing, we might still have the demand from just these big players in the market asking these things, even without the policy around it. So because consumer habits are changing, and the pressure all around is changing. I thank all of our speakers for your time today. So thank you, Sven, thank you, Adam, thank you, Javier, for joining this webinar. Also, thank you for the participants for joining and listening into this discussion. As this thing is still in limbo, we might return to this topic on Interreg Europe again over some time to continue these discussions. I already in the beginning also showed that we have various projects working on these topics. So I'm sure in the years to come, we will continue exchanging on related aspects. And maybe just the last thing to say is that once the webinar closes, automatically this feedback survey pops up on Zoom. We appreciate if you can give us feedback to the webinar. It only takes 2 minutes to fill it in. We always try to improve these online sessions as much as we can as well on the platform. So once again, thank you, Sven. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Javier. And have a nice afternoon, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.